and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And I've got an extraordinary experience here today. We're here at the United Nations. I have a little dining area. You may even hear some of the folks here in the background. I hope you sense the excitement that we're all feeling being here today. I've got a special guest with us today. It's Per Saxegaard, who is the founder and executive chairman for Peace Foundation, which has created what is, in essence, the Nobel Prize for Business. Per, why don't you just take a moment and tell us a little bit about how that came about?
It came about some 10 years ago, the thinking about this, reflecting that all faceless suits on the sea level of businesses, there are in fact persons. And those individuals shape a business for good or bad. And there's a need to showcase the good examples, the leaders of business that really make a difference in society. That was some of the background.
Well, it is, I think, a vitally important part of to be able to talk about and think about these things. And you've offered up some tips to help people become more business worthy, the term you use to describe companies that you recognize with your awards. And one of your tips was that businesses must contribute to accomplishing the SDGs. Why do you think that's a part of being business worthy?
I think it's a part of being part of society. Business cannot live in a vacuum on its own. Business is here for society. And the global sustainability development goals really put forward where the world wants to go. And if business wants to be part of that, it has to contribute. As I mentioned earlier today, if you are a producer of cookies, nutrition business, and suddenly you contribute to the global goals. So it's a mindset thing to understand that once you are focusing on your specific markets, at the same time you also are included in society in different shapes or forms.
Yeah, well, it's a great insight that you shared, and certainly valuable. Why do you think that your other tip was that business needs to focus on improving society? Make the observation, tell me if I get this wrong, not all profits are created equal. What do you mean by that?
The issue that we have is that driven primarily to maximize financial return, which is obviously important and will continue. We lose out the difference of contribution of businesses because all businesses are the same. But there are some profits that are more valuable to all of us that can create the kind of virtual cycle between business success and societal success. And that's the kind of business that I think is putting its back. So the ability to improve society is, I think, key to what really drives value creation in business and really establishes why people becomes entrepreneurs. They see a problem. I can fix that. I can do that. And that's what's the whole energy of business about. But unless you can be inspired to be part of something bigger, to solve problems, then there's not much energy left. So that's why I think it's key that business is here to help improve society.
Clearly, the SDGs are represent the Sustainable Development Goals, huge, ambitious goals like eradicating extreme poverty by 2030. That's a short deadline in the scale of human history, right? You're talking about 14 years. What kind of role do you see business playing in that, in specific examples? What do you think? How do we get there from here?
I think we should remember that those 17 goals have underlying targets, 169 of them. 164 of those targets are connected to business. So So if business are not involved, it won't happen. And if we do the same way as we have done, it would not happen either. Business needs to step up, use all in ingenuity, all its creative power to find new solutions in an exponential power. And on the practical level, I think that the point that you broaden your mindset to understand that when you are in the cooking business, you're also in the nutrition business. And then it means that what happens in growing the wheat that you create the cookies from, the people working in the fields, suddenly becomes relevant for you. The global communication development, the digital situation that we all have, has brought what seems to be far away and not so relevant suddenly very close and very relevant. So we are in a world now. The landscape has changed, and the world's business maps needs to adjust.
Now, there are still a lot of people who think, in fact, India passed a law that requires corporations to do corporate social responsibility, and there's a mathematical formula for the amount that they're required to spend. I fear that creates, and a lot of people already think of corporate social responsibility as kind of a tax placed on corporations. Is that how you see it?
Corporate social responsibility is a good thing, but I don't think, at least in some of the classical way of looking at it hits the mark, because it's responsibility that makes business kick. It's the ability to solve problem and improve your customer's day. So while you have to act responsible, you need to link into the power of creating, which is business is all about. So it's not either or, it's both. So in effect, it's not a trade-off between profitability and social progress. It's rather the opposite. It's a fountainhead of opportunities where you can create competitive advantage, where you can differentiate yourself from other businesses. So what we are talking about here, I think, is more to be seen as the R&D department of the future of business, because business is here for society. It's not living in a vacuum over there.
So do you see there being an absolute tension, a trade-off between profit and purpose, or can those two go together?
They should be merged at this minute. Once you merge a higher purpose with your profits, then suddenly you become a much more attractive employer than if you just focus on the profit side. You need to focus on the profit side as well, because profits is needed both to pay salaries and to grow. And I think the magic of business is that once you make money and you do something which is good, you grow, and the solution that started the business suddenly become scaled up and can be shared with all people. The technology that we are now part of, the mobile phone we have here, is maybe one of the best examples we have.
Yeah. Well, Per, I want to shift gears, and I apologize, but I want to get some insight into your just a little bit. And I want to ask, you're a remarkable person. I mean, truly remarkable, admired around the world. Who do you look up to? Who does a giant look up to?
I'm not, I suddenly feel I become a little bit humble. No, I look up to the honorees of the Business for Peace Foundation. They are all fantastic examples or role models of how you can do just what we are talking about. In forms, they are just fantastic, and they represent everything from business, from the smallest business to the medium business to the biggest business. But let me give you one example. A guy who came from much of the same background as me, an MBA, a kind of a figures man, a numbers man, starting out as a controller, growing up to become a CFO, and then suddenly taking charge of Unilever, Mr. Paul Polman. I think he has done tremendous for accelerating this case. how he looks upon Unilever's position in business, how he said to Wall Street, I won't report every quarter because that's not how our business works. So if you don't like this, sell your shares. How he has focused his own business that say that we will double this business, but we will decouple the environmental aspects of it. And we will secure that our products have a social purpose. For example, his Knorr product is a savory product. He positions as food security. So he makes the link between practical everyday profits and the global goals. And the inspiration you can recognize in his business is amazing. How he has turned 200,000 people business into going in one direction. And gradually the financial markets are coming after him and saying that, well, maybe it's the right way to think.
Yeah, great example, great example. Now, we have a little bit in common. We were both investment bankers in a previous life. I guess to some extent you still are. I have abandoned that practice. Maybe that says something about what a great investment banker you were and I wasn't. But in any case, you made quite a shift to focus on the creation of the Business for Peace Foundation. Why? Why did you feel as an investment banker compelled to make that leap?
I think it's in fact deep commercial thinking. It's about understanding how our values are going to be created in the future. It's not about being good. It's really understanding that when the landscapes of business are changed, as it now is because of technology, globalization, climate change, etc., business has to adjust its maps. The landscape has changed. And the way to think in business in order to survive sustainably, I mean, build values that hold over time. Business had to rethink. It has to broaden their mindset. It has basically to behave and to improve society, what we call being business worthy. So it's strong, forward-looking business.
Great. One last question. We ask all of our guests on the show for an impact hack, some tip that would help us to do more good. You've given us some great insights already, but do you have one last impact hack you could share with us?
I'm not so sure what hack should be. I think nothing has ever been created without enthusiasm. I think that now people are afraid about technology, artificial intelligence taking away all our jobs, etc. I think that I'm an optimistic guy. I'm not the guy that when people say why, I say why not. I think that as long as there are problems in the world, there are work to be done. And business need to be there to do that. Maybe I could say, and I think that was the words of Paul Polman, by the way, if you're not here to, then why are you here?
Yeah, great tip, great tip. Now, before you go, Per, tell us how people can learn more about the foundation and the awards and how they might connect with you personally.
Yeah, I would advise people to move into hashtag businessworthy, and I would urge you to sign the businessworthy pledge, which has now been done by leaders personally representing some $700 billion, and be part of a movement for this kind of business. Otherwise, you can find it on businessforpeace.org, and in through that you can also get in contact with me.
Fantastic. I went to your website. I signed the pledge. I didn't add much to the 700 billion, but I've taken the pledge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Per, thank you for being here with us. It's been a thrill to have you.
Thank you.
Good. How to turn this off.